Oh, hi, Paul here at the studio, and in today's video we're gonna talk about sample libraries. Sample library not only became useful tools for us composer, it is just the most important part of our writing process. And in this video my goal is not to show you the most realistic sounding library I own, it's not even to show you the best sounding library I own. In this video I want to show you the most useful, the most invaluable library I own, and the one that are here in almost each and every project I'm working on. So let's jump right in. The first library I want to talk about is the most obvious one, and the one I will spend the less time talking about is the Cinematic Studio series. A lot of composers out there are using that library. You probably have seen thousands of composers using Cinematic Studio strings, but the rest of the series is just as good. Solo strings, Cinematic Studio brass, Cinematic Studio woodwind, Cinematic Studio percussion. Ha! I knew you weren't listening. I don't have a lot of things to say about them. If you need good sounding legato transition, if you need good sounding short notes, if you need good sounding ensemble patch, you will find every of that in the Cinematic Studio series. When it comes to orchestral writing, this is the best option I have, to my taste, obviously, and I don't really need to spend much time looking for alternatives that I found not as interesting as this one. I won't name libraries that I think are very overhyped, but I think you get the idea. Novella Origin by Westwood Instruments. A few months ago, I've been contacted by someone at the BMI, the music library publisher, to write a few tracks for our oriented album. And it might surprise you, but I think 80% of the track I do for them was made using Novella Origin. This library is filled with very interesting options. It revolves around a small size strings ensemble, but you can find very useful tools into it, like the voice, which is a choir, an electric guitar. The textural pad is very interesting in this one, a drum, and especially the Wanderlust here, the synth patch, is very useful. This is quiet ensemble. This is a patch I've made myself with the Willow ensemble patch. And as you can hear, it has a very intimate, close, small sound that I found very interesting. And when you start working with atonal chord progression, it became very, very interesting. Another honorable mention is the Lost series, again by Westwood Instruments, which features heavily again in this album I'm talking about for the BMI, but also in the gameplay trailer for Nocturnal 2. There is something very dark and interesting in those library, and the amount of option you have to tweak them is very interesting. But if I have to choose one to work with, I think I will stay with Novella Origin, because it has a lot of option and mixed with interesting signal chain, you can very transform the sound the way you like. It's a very, very cool library to have. Pandora by Project Sam. We composers are simple persons. I know a lot of composers are complaining when the percussion writing is just revolve around a roll and hit, but let's be honest, sometimes it is just what you need. And Pandora by Project Sam offer very useful features, which is the sync. The option to sync your roll to your track tempo. Again, the goal of this video is not to talk about the most impressive and the most good sounding. This library here is impressive and good sounding, but above all, it is a very useful tool to have. Spotlight Piano by Fractal Sound. This instrument is the only instrument that is already ready to record when I open a new repair session. We all need easy to work with piano, and this is my weapon of choice. I use it for piano sketching, but I also use it in full final pieces because it has this very quiet and intimate quality I'm looking for in a piano. I don't really need that much of a kind of grand piano sound, you know, something that is very orchestral and symphonic. But this kind of option here is way more ready to use in a cinematic and in modern cinematic usage. I'm not looking for orchestral or symphonic sounding piano, and that's the reason why this piano is so useful. Is because it has been designed to be ready to use in a modern scoring situation. The volume scaling here on the response panel is a very, very useful option, and the sound here is enough normal, if I can call it that way, that it makes it useful in a lot of different situations. World Percussion Creator by In-Session Audio. I remember that when this library was announced, I was a little short on money and I couldn't afford to buy a new sample library. Then In-Session Audio announced a world percussion-oriented library in the style of what they did with Dramatic or the Taiko Creator. And I was like, I need this kind of tool. And if I knew back then how many times I've used this library, this is a pretty complex library, honestly. It has a lot of features. You can EQ everything. You can build your own groups of instruments. Here it is split in 3 sections that you can tweak individually. It has also effects option. Here you can choose between a lot of different reverb, you can choose between a lot of EQ options. So yeah, it's the interface is not the most straightforward you can find, but there is something so clever in the way this library was recorded and designed that the moment you open it, you can play any percussion groove you want and it immediately sits exactly well in your mix. So if you want to add rhythm, if you want to add some kind of an exotic flavor to a track, this is the perfect library to work on. And if I have to keep just one of the Creator series by In-Session Audio, that will be World Percussion Creator. The Vital Cinematic SFX pack from Negativist. Negativist is a YouTuber and sound designer, and a few years ago he offers a free sample pack image using the Vital Synth. It is a pretty small pack, only a few options for each sound, but those sounds are so cleverly designed and so useful. I think I can say that I use them since the day I get it. I use them on at least one of these sounds on every project I ever worked on. Obviously, if you get time and if you're interested in the process, you can design your own kind of ready-to-go sound. But to be honest, I don't think I would have been able to craft a low boom that is as useful and all-round than the one I found in this package. When I'm working on a project, I like to open my Media Explorer tab and find the sound I'm wanting to use just ready to go. So you take that, you drag it to your project, and you have a low boom ready to go. And that's it. The same goes for the hit, and the same goes for the hit, and the same goes for the downer, for the riser. They are simple, they are all round, and they can be useful in any situation. If you've seen my previous video about the gameplay trailer track for Nocturnal 2, you know that a lot of these sounds were used to make the music. So it's a very, very useful tool, and it's free, and you should definitely check that out. And finally, our winner, the best library ever conceived, the most useful tool I have, and the one I've used so many times is almost ridiculous, and I also have sometimes to force myself not using it because it just, it's too automatic. Shimmer Shake Strikes by In-Session Audio. When I began this composing career, I was working on an advertising company, and if you know the corporate video production world, you know that it revolves around uplifting, inspirational, and a rhythmic track. And I was struggling with some of the sample library I have, which offer a shaker option, and you have to play each of the notes individually and manually tweak the velocity amount to create a realistic shaker line. And I was like, please, can someone create a library when I just have to hit a button and some simple shaker groove is starting and it syncs to my tempo. And this is exactly what Shimmer Shake Strikes 2 is offering. Nothing more, no less. You have the options to choose between various kind of instrument for the shimmer, instrument for the strike, the hit in the... You can tweak the patterns, you can export everything in MIDI if you want to change the sound, why not? But it is just the kind of library, you open it, you hit play, and it just works perfectly. And it is pretty simple and pretty straightforward, but it is so useful if you're writing action sequence, if you're writing pop music, jazz music. I don't know, I even managed to find a use for it in R. So yeah, this is the most useful tool I ever had. And if I have to start all over again and buy just one sample library, that probably will be that one. Not because this is again, you won't be able to write everything just by using that library, but it has featured so much in my work that I just can't imagine me living without it. So these are the sample libraries I just can't live without. If you also have this kind of useful tool you can't see yourself live without, please write it in the comment section, and I will be happy to hear about new cool stuff I can use on a daily basis. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!